Well, look at that. 5,000.
So this is not a what it's like to ride an F3 video. There are a ton of those out there, and if you want to hear my thoughts, I'd suggest you watch either my first impressions video I love it, or my first 1,000 miles video.
And I still think this is the best handling bike I've ever been on.
This is more of a what it's like to own an F3 video. Now, because my F3 is actually my primary mode of transportation, I'm on it 5 or 6 days a week. So if you're actually thinking of buying an MV and doing something crazy, like riding it on a regular basis, this video might be helpful. Now, this is obviously just the experience of some random dude on YouTube, because when you research these bikes, you will read horror stories of people whose valves have snapped within the first 2,000 miles, and fairy tales of riders who've gone 10,000 miles without a single issue. I feel like my experience is probably somewhere in between those two. So people who ride and know about MVs will usually ask me two things. Is it unreliable, and is it expensive? Let's all be real here. That is the MV Agusta reputation. Is it unreliable? Well, I still love the bike, but it hasn't been a perfect first 5,000 miles. Now, it started off great, but then the paint on the plastic tank started cracking at around 1,800 miles. I did a few videos about this, but basically almost all US gas is a combination of 90% gasoline and 10% ethanol. Unfortunately, ethanol is corrosive and eats away at the liner inside of the MV tanks that's supposed to keep them from expanding. So the tank expands from the hot engine or just being outside on a sunny day, and it cracks the paint. Now, it's tough to say how bad this problem is because the only one who knows is MV, and they're not talking. But if you check the MV forums, I am definitely not the only unlucky one with a cracked tank. Luckily, MV replaced my tank under warranty, but it still took about 2 months to get that tank. And because there's no guarantee the problem won't happen again, I paid out of pocket to get it relined by a company that specializes in correctly lining motorcycle tanks. So hopefully that problem won't come back. Oh, and did I mention that MV couldn't be bothered to actually paint me a tank that matched my original one, which was satin paint with a red logo? They sent me a matte tank with a multicolor logo. So now I'm going to have to pay out of pocket to get the tank resprayed to actually match my bike.
Son of a bitch.
I made a video about this, link in the description in case you're curious. So yeah, annoying. Anyway, the only other problem I've had is that my Sprag clutch crapped out on me at around 4,800 miles. Now, that problem actually left me stranded, so that kind of sucked. It also left me without the bike for a month because it took 31 days for a new one to come in from MV Agusta. This is a common problem with the MV triple cylinder bikes if you check the forums, and I did a video about it, link in the description. Thankfully, it's fixed now and the bike is back to starting with no problems. Okay, so to recap that, 50 days for a tank, and then they send the wrong tank, and they don't care that they've sent the wrong tank. And it stranded me once, and was in the shop for a month waiting for a Sprag clutch from MV. If you're the kind of person who pays a premium price and expects premium service afterwards, yeah, MV Agusta is probably not the bike for you. So is it unreliable? I think we can mostly agree that this would not have happened with a Honda, for example, but I still think it's too early to brand the bike as unreliable. So, is it expensive? That is a tough one because expensive is both subjective and relative. Looking at the bikes in this middleweight class, there's the Gixxer 750, which you can get for $12,500. There's the new Panigale V2, which is about $16,500. And a new F3 800 comes in at around $17,000. So yeah, it's the most expensive option in this class. So you're really gonna have to want it if you pay full price. Now for me, I probably would not have paid full price for this bike because I'm from the Midwest and we are way too practical, but that's beside the point. But I got such a good deal on this bike, I could not pass it up. Now, if you're new to the channel, my bike was a new old stock model that had been sitting in a crate in a Minnesota dealer's warehouse for 4 years. I honestly think they forgot about it, and someone probably went to the back of that warehouse one day and said, "What is this bike still doing here? Get rid of it." So the dealer basically gave it away. I only paid about $9,500 for this bike, which was over 40% off the price of a current year F3. So yeah, deal of a lifetime. So they added a small setup fee, and then shipping out to California was $600. So to get the bike to my doorstep was $10,392. Now I won't add in the state taxes or registration fees because every state is different. But if you're curious, I paid about 15% on top of that for the California state taxes, new title, and registration. So I had it shipped to my local MV dealer, Pro Italia, and for peace of mind before I rode it, I had them check it over. Thankfully, everything was fine. They just recommended I get a new battery because the stock MV batteries are not good. They are literally called BS batteries, which is hilarious because most people consider them to be crap. So that whole initial service was $480. I also decided to buy an extended warranty through Pro Italia that adds 1 year of coverage after the 2-year factory warranty expires, and that costs $290. Now, if you're one of these people who shelter their MV in a garage and hardly put any miles on it, like maybe you take it out a handful of times a year or once a month, no judgment, it's your money, do what you want, but I don't think buying an additional warranty would be worth it. But for me, someone who plans to ride the wheels off this thing, I have no doubt that additional warranty will pay for itself. Now the break-in service, which is the first normal service, is at 600 miles. And that's where they basically just change the oil and give the bike a once-over. That was $300. And like I mentioned, after I got my replacement gas tank, I paid to have it relined out of pocket, and that ended up being about $325. Now MV's normal service intervals are every 3,750 miles, alternating between minor and major services. So at 3,750 miles, you have a minor service and then a major at 7,500. Then at 11,250, you have a minor, and then at 15,000, you have a major, and so on. That first minor scheduled service ended up being about $520. Now the major service costs 3 to 4 times that amount, so I don't want to think about that for now. And finally, when my Sprag clutch went out, that was covered under warranty, but I burnt out the battery trying to get it restarted so many times. So I had to get a new one of those, and that was $150. What are we looking at here after 5,000 miles? All in around $12,500. But after the cost of the bike, I've paid a little over $2,000 after 5,000 miles. Of course, not including the amount that I'm gonna have to pay shortly to respray the gas tank. So is that expensive? There are cheaper bikes out there to run, for sure, but there are also more expensive bikes out there to run. So, it's kind of subjective. So hopefully this helps some MV curious people out there just to hear my experience. And if you want to hear more MV Agusta adventures as I rack up the miles, be sure to subscribe, and hopefully I will catch you on the next one.